Welcome to the Energy Hour. The Energy Hour is brought to you by Quality Home Improvement, Southern California's premier residential and commercial contractor, making homes and businesses energy efficient, one building at a time.
Hey, Rob, what's going on?
How you doing, Chris?
Hey, today is July 30th.
Jeez.
We're at the end, man. We just
started.
Where did it go? This whole year is kind of a blur. But anyways, got a lot of good topics today.
Mm-hmm.
And I think finally in California, our college, Berkeley, has mentioned some really cool things we need to talk about.
Yeah.
Tunisia,
we've got Portugal.
Got
a lot of countries really stepping up. And I hate to say it, America needs to be looking at all these other countries.
You just said what I was thinking.
Yeah.
It's just horrible to figure out that, we are in such a great nation.
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot of good things, and we're kind of ahead of the curve.
Right.
To find out some of these smaller countries that you can fit in a box are doing 50 times more than we are.
Yeah. No, it's remarkable. And like you mentioned, Berkeley, first city in America that is moving away from gas in homes and buildings. So they want to have all homes gas-free, all buildings, commercial, gas-free, 100% electric. They will consider case by case, and mostly what they're looking at is, a restaurant, for instance, wants a gas range.
Yeah, natural gas cooking.
Nothing replaces that.
Right.
But other than that, they want all homes to be electric, and of course, they're very green anyway up there, and they, what do you have if you have a 100% electric home? You have a greater need for solar.
Let's think of that for a second. I went to a symposium probably about 10 years ago, and in this symposium was some real smart people, and we were at the Edison Education Center in Irwindale.
Okay, yeah.
2 or 3 of them. This was a 8-hour gangbuster.
Wow, full day.
Hey, let's just lay this thing out.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole concept was architectural design in new buildings, residential and commercial buildings, and part of that was just 100% of this was almost renewable.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, there's something called daylight harvesting.
Yeah.
A lot of houses, we get these square boxes.
Mm-hmm.
These contractors have these Title 24 rules and what they can get away with and what they can't get away with, and they just build, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you get these developers buying all this land, and they're just building these stick homes, as I call them.
Yeah, beige boxes.
Beige boxes, which I'm just sick of seeing. I don't know about you.
I come from having an architectural firm for 23 years, and I'm bored to death with it. And I've been around the world, and I've seen other countries getting out of the box. We see it once in a while here, but these mass-produced homes for massive profit,
it's just ridiculous.
I'm the 23rd house on the right that's beige. It's and they're not
right?
efficient.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's overwhelming to see these mistakes keep occurring.
Yeah.
And the average house may last 130, 150 years before, it needs to fall off its,
right.
Its pad. It just lays down and it just run over it.
Just from exhaustion.
Gets a caterpillar and just start over, right? But the reality is if they built them, and I'm talking about seismic conditioned homes,
yeah.
like, you got these almost cement wall type houses, steel beams and girders without having to put a lot of, extra stuff into it that cause problems in the environment.
Right.
Cement is pretty good.
Well, you're talking about a more efficient envelope, but the problem is, and part of this is the culture in America. First of all, I think from a psychological standpoint, all these beige boxes are homogenizing people. It's making you boring. It's making you look the same. There's no creativity. There's nothing unique about you if you have another gray box. But the problem is, the other cultural issue is people think size matters. And maybe it does in some areas, but in-house, there's 2 to 3 people living in a 3,600 square foot home, and they think, look at the size of my house. I'm telling the world that, I must be successful, or I got a 4,000 or 5,000. Yeah, I'm cool. Look at this 5,000 square foot home.
Ridiculous.
The problem is we should be building more efficient, smaller homes. Europe is very big on this. Even their appliances, you look at Bosch and Miele and all those products they have are smaller. We should be looking at spending more on building more efficient homes that might be smaller, still fit your family well, but the envelope, like what you're talking about, is more conducive to being energy, because we do solar all the time, but imagine how much smaller our solar systems can be if the envelope of the house itself is efficient.
That's right. And, using cement as the outside envelope, that box, if you will, cement floors, cement walls with steel beams in it, to keep the integrity of the wall,
right.
And, from future earthquake issues. And kind of a flexible cement. It doesn't have to be rigid, but it can be pliable, right? They do it with bales of hay. It's just sad. But do that with a cement-based application, and then now you've got convection cooling coming up from the earth.
Sure.
You've got, your walls are much cooler because they're not, they don't have this.
Exactly.
Formaldehyde. They don't have these, insulation factors that everybody, one insulation company vets the other company saying, "Oh, you got too much of this, you got too much of that."
Right.
No, this is natural product.
Well, like I told you, our place is a bit, my wife and I, it's a bit mid-century modern, and going around half the house is block. White painted block, and it's got the cement in it. And we've been getting days back in the upper 90s, breaking the 100 mark. And I still walk into my house in the middle of the afternoon, and I can touch the wall on the inside, and it's still cool.
Yeah.
And my place is not like, I'm not dying. I can run the air, but I don't as much, just because that type of envelope, keeps.
You're getting geocooling from the natural ground.
Absolutely.
And everything from 2 feet below in the earth is going to start getting colder and colder and colder.
Right.
So convection cooling, applies to this envelope.
So these passive ways, it's a very passive way, right? Cool. We should look at all those passive
brainless
ways. Exactly. And use the passive means to make the house more efficient and then start thinking about, how do I produce my own energy and not just be a consumer?
Well, they do it with commercial Tilta buildings now.
Absolutely.
They bring in these huge walls already pre-manufactured, and they're made out of cement. They got these pliable properties into them. Why couldn't we do the same?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up.
With houses.
It's interesting you bring it up because in Europe and Norway and some of those countries there, they got really big on prefab homes. And we're doing it in parts of the United States and California, and people hear prefab home and they think trailer. Right. I got a double wide, and it's not that. In fact, these homes are more. They're built in a factory, in a warehouse that's so controlled that these units that they basically snap together a lot of times on steel girders and so forth, and put it together like a kit of parts in a way. They're very meticulous in the way they're put together, but they also build in all those things you're talking about to make sure structurally it's sound, it's flexible steel, and bit bendy if earthquakes and things like that. But the envelope is really efficient energy-wise, and so they do it there, but they're not doing it just out in the field. It's 2x4s and drywall.
Yeah, it's too fast. It's your favorite hardware store application. And that's how they keep you going back, because all that stuff eventually breaks in the house and you got to replace it all.
Right.
So I'm talking from a structural point of view, kind of a cement, structure.
Yeah.
It's got the pliable properties we talked about. And then up above, it would be daylight harvesting. That's where you have windows built into the top portion of the house prior to the second floor or the top part of your roof. These, they're like, 18 inches by 6 feet windows, and they're really small, and they're not intrusive, and they're high enough to where they're not going to shine in on any of your carpet. Or forget carpet. I'm sorry. I didn't even want to mention that. Sorry, carpet
what'd you
guys.
do that for?
Sorry, carpet guys.
So you're talking at the top most of the wall.
That's right.
Almost like a clear story.
Yeah, it's exactly.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it brings in the natural light.
Yep.
What are we avoiding here? Firstly, we're avoiding sufficiently having to use these massive air conditioning systems.
Right.
I mean, last week I knew a guy that got a 5-ton air conditioner for a 1,200 square foot home. I mean, does he want to blow himself up, pressurize
like
the house? I don't know what he wants to do, but
turn it on and be cooled in about 45 seconds,
and then forever. But I mean, these convection houses have this natural cooling element, and then you get daylight harvesting,
right?
So it lets natural light in. Did you know that natural light in your house brings back a different attitude?
Oh, completely. I mean, and
LEDs are great. Don't get me wrong.
no, you take a look
For
at
night.
Yeah, but you take a look at the parts of the country in Europe, Northern Europe, where they have a lot longer night times. You know, so
Right,
they got
right.
shorter days.
That's right.
And they use full spectrum lighting, which is
Full spectrum
basically
lighting,
a way
right.
of simulating what you're talking about, just
Yeah.
bringing the natural sunlight in.
Yep.
Because it does change mood. It changes brain chemistry. It does everything. But being able to bring that natural light in without putting a light on. And when you do have lights, obviously they're LED, but why not harvest that daylight?
Right? I mean, not only will it raise the attitude and the enthusiasm and your productivity for that day, you're not having to use electricity to light up that space. And if you are, it's very minimal. Then we turn on a couple of LED lights for the workspace.
Mm-hmm.
So you got this pliable convection flooring and this, I don't want to say rubberized, but flexible wall application. You got daylight harvesting, and then you seal this up with a parapet. What I mean by that is, you can make ceilings in the house look any way you want if you put a sub ceiling, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the top structure itself, the top of the roof, needs to be like commercial buildings.
Mm-hmm.
To where it's got a center point and then the water runoff goes to the sides and then down your drain system. So it's a perfect way to have a 3-foot parapet at the top of your house. These houses would almost look southwestern, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So that's where you stick your energy system, your renewable energy system, and you got your inverters going inside the garage. You've got your lithium ion, application
Some
sitting
magic
there.
putting all that together.
Right? I mean, if you think about it, now you've got your electricity, you've got your convection cooling, where you don't have to worry about, high electricity cost. You've got LED lighting, you've got daylight harvesting, and then you throw in there a little natural energy production from the sun. And then lastly, you get a septic tank.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. We don't have to worry about being hooked to the county sewer system, because who wants to pay $80 a month for life?
Yeah, it's interesting to see if we go back to stuff like that, just to be more autonomous.
The only thing we really couldn't do is a water source, unless when they built these houses, part of their backyard had a 10,000 gallon pressurized water tank.
Yeah, but the interesting...
So now we don't have to worry, and maybe they had a natural rain reclamation, source built into that. So when it did rain, harvesting the purified water from the rain, that would be filtered, of course, and then pressurized into the house. Yeah. So I've just eliminated all of my utilities. I don't have natural gas unless I want to use something. Maybe a small propane /
but you could
NG tank on the side of my house.
But if you really have everything electric and you've got enough solar going on and some battery autonomy, you're pretty there.
So your utility costs are actually negligible.
So what you're saying, though, if we kind of boil it down, is you're saying if the house is built correctly. I'm reminded of the website is big.dk. Sounds a little bit weird, like big. Maybe it's in Europe, and it's an architectural group, and they do some of the most phenomenal commercial work you've ever seen. It will blow your mind if you just look at their buildings. But one of the things they look at, whatever they're building, even in housing or whatever, is they look at facing the buildings in the right way. I'm bringing in light, at certain times of the day from here, light over here. I want shade here. They really look at how they acclimate the house to the surroundings and the directions, the azimuth, all the things we talk about, which is really smart. Because if you built the house, because kind of what you're saying is if you could build the house right, you get your energy source where you're producing your own that you're consuming. Ultimately, you could be more self-sustainable, cost less, do what's right by the planet. I mean, it's just interesting that you could actually be more autonomous, more cost-effective.
There needs to be
This doesn't cost you more.
Exactly. There needs to be a energy efficient builder that just breaks the ice and says, listen, I want to buy up, 1,000 acres, and everybody has a 1/4 acre property.
Right.
This 1/4 acre property would have exactly what we're talking about built into that property. Yeah. So, septic tanks could be serviced.
Sure.
Maybe if they're being built correctly, maybe a well can be put on there.
Yeah, you never know. And the solar could either be on the properties or they're within their own micro kind of utility in the area.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
Well, I do think that's going to be, you know what? Here's my thing.
What they're doing is they're stuffing us all in these boxes.
Big, inefficient boxes.
Right? And then we're sticking a whole bunch of people. We're just letting them in by the drones. I mean, that's another problem.
But here's the problem, though. These houses are being built this big and the way they are because this is what Americans are demanding. You know, you see these houses, you go in, you see that 2-story built house. You walk in, you see this huge, massive volume when you walk in, which is harder than hell to cool or heat. Right? Heat rises.
Well, look, one of the customers we're dealing with right now.
Yeah.
She has these vaulted ceilings, and she has to put insulation on her roof in hopes of cooling down that space.
Right.
That's ridiculous.
So we basically have got the wood of the roof. We've got
you
insulation.
Got maybe 3 inches of stuff.
2 underlayments, a radiant barrier, plywood, roof, torch down, gravel, and then a solar system.
Unfortunately,
it will insulate the hell out of that house. I'll tell you. But if you built it right in the beginning, that's
right.
the whole thing. I think what we're trying to do is. You know, solar's, I think, completely vital. It's a no-brainer. Everybody should be doing it. For the majority of you out there, you're going to save money.
Well, if you looked at everything in your house right now, what does it run on?
Yeah, no, exactly.
It has to have some type of electricity source.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you plug it in or you get it from an inverter or whatever you're going to use, right?
Right. But the thing is if on all new construction, you took in the laws of science and energy and envelope efficiency, and you actually did that, we could be putting much smaller systems. We could be, so there's the LEEDs, for buildings. I've worked on a building that was LEEDs Platinum, which is really super efficient. We should be bringing that into housing too. Does it cost a little more? Yeah, but the cost of ownership is over time. But what if you had a 2,400 square foot house instead of a 3,500 square foot house, but it was highly efficient and beautiful? You know what I mean? Has plenty of room and was super cost effective to manage, because owning your house isn't just your mortgage.
It's
all those other costs.
That's right. I feel that, even the glazing that you put in there and the daylight harvesting space, can be triple pane or something like that, or a dual pane with argon gas.
Well, I think we're going to start seeing the windows with the solar layer in it too. I do see that starting.
I mean, it's smart, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're even talking about putting it on the glass on
they have
phones.
Bifacial.
Yeah, exactly.
They're putting them into toys and cars.
But you know who's going to do this? This is my fear. Everything we're talking about here is a great idea, and we're going to see it first in another country.
Oh, they're doing it now.
Because we're already seeing it. Well, Tunisia now.
Tunisia's just insane right now.
Okay, so Tunisia's building enough with wind power and solar to power 2 million homes in Europe. Which is kind of across the water. They're below Italy. They're near Libya.
I mean, what's their footprint compared to the United States?
Nothing, right?
I mean, it might be the size of Montebello.
It's small, right? and then Portugal's in the news because they just passed a decree for citizens to be, what they call it is, the title is self-consumption. So they want people to consume their own energy, produce it and consume it themselves. That takes a lot of strain on the grid. It allows it to be, we even looked at Kenya has put 365 large wind turbines in their country. They're moving towards
Kenya?
Yeah. And with solar, because in villages where they have problems getting, electrical lines, they can put solar plus, batteries for autonomy cheaper than bringing a utility all the way out. They're looking to get 100% renewable in the next couple of years. So, I mean, a lot of this is really...
That's progress.
It's progress, and it's just... But, when we start seeing those type countries, we start seeing Mexico, we start seeing other countries doing really innovative architecture. And like you said, though, they're not thinking about it just like a Band-Aid. Like, solar's not a Band-Aid, but in a sense, on these type homes, sometimes we're putting larger systems than we need to just because the house isn't as efficient as it should be.
It's designed poorly, so you have to offset it with more stuff that you don't need.
Right.
So let's take all these contractors, let's change Title 24 altogether and say we're now going to think it's not Title 24, it's Renewable 24.
Yeah, and then I was looking at something here too. And again, they're looking at this one website put up something about the projected energy mix to get to where we need to by 2050.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, 2050 is the wrong number. That's too late. Okay.
20 years too late.
Yeah, so we are about to reach a tipping point, a massive
11
one in about
years.
11 years.
11 years.
So what they're showing is if you had residential rooftops at about 15%, solar plants about 21, concentrated power plants at 9, you got about 20% or so in offshore. They list all these different things, right?
Sure.
But they look at how 139 countries in the world could be 100%, renewable energy, and this is how they do it. But they kind of take the fear away of all the job losses. So what they're calculating is, yes, you're going to lose 27.7 million jobs, but you're not really losing them because they're just kind of getting repurposed. But you're creating 52 million jobs. So pretty simple math.
Sounds pretty simple.
I have a surplus of 25 extra million jobs.
I'm in. Let's vote.
And if we're reducing our bills, like time and time again, in fact, we've just been pleasantly surprised going more into commercial and GS3 commercial, watching how much we can save these guys that are really hurting. There's no reason not to be making the switch. And it's not going to get cheaper, folks. It's not really. It's at a great point right now where you've got so much incentive that's going away.
I mean, it just makes sense.
But
to
I'm
me.
looking at this. It's nice to see
what we're talking about,
because we know
a lot
that it's a lie to
let's
say we're
look
going
at
to
a
lose
more
jobs, because
holistic
every time you
approach.
lose a job in one sector, it moves
solar
to the other.
is
Gotcha.
Me,
52 million.
we have so many
jobs over
structures
the
already
next
built. We've got to
30
solve
years.
that
Not
energy
bad.
problem.
It's
So
pretty
let's do that.
impressive, right?
But moving forward with new buildings,
Right?
Let's try to be more thoughtful.
I mean, seriously, do this
Yeah.
instead of just developing it, thinking about it, implementing it, and then not doing anything about it.
Exactly. But on
I mean, I'm sick and tired of that.
But on anything else we're moving forward with, why would we continue to build the same mistakes?
You know why? Because it's tolerable, I
And
guess.
it's cost effective and
They-
it's cheap, and someone makes a profit on it.
Yeah.
And I guess we,
It's disgusting.
we people that are contractors and energy efficient people and solar people, maybe we shouldn't complain, because go out and buy that big inefficient house. We're just going to be able to put a bigger system on it, make more on it, right? But that's not what we're about. We're really about looking at the whole. And there's nothing more exciting to us than looking at, like, even when we might look at a house and say, you do realize if you did this with your windows and you did this and you insulated, I'm going to be able to put a smaller system, or you're going to be more efficient, and we're going to change out your lights. It's much more of a holistic approach, and it produces a better result.
I'm just these stick houses that I deal with all the time, and we're constantly jumping into, and some of these customers are disappointed. They bought the house that they really wanted. They thought it was their dream home. To find out it is so poorly efficient by any means that now they got to spend $100,000 to offset something that could have been done in the beginning.
Well,
Back in the 50s,
Yeah.
I mean, our building standards, were just, we didn't think about global warming.
Right.
We didn't think about the zombie apocalypse. We just thought about, happy days.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and drag races, I guess.
Yeah, but exactly. But it reminds me of when I've done a lot of commercial architecture, and the things that counties and cities and civic projects, and so their big concern. Sure, they're concerned about how much the building and the structure is going to cost, but their bigger concern is what is the cost of operations over time.
I mean, if you look now at the average stick home that's there,
Mm-hmm.
it's thousands of dollars.
Yeah. So I mean, look at how many.
Have you ever looked at what it costs to run your home?
Yeah, and when I'm looking at someone, we've got a lot of customers,
I got my calculator out now.
$4,000 in electricity a year. So what homeowners need to start doing is kind of like what your government kind of looks at. They're saying the structure costs me this, but the cost of operations is this. And they're concerned about the next 50 years. How much does it cost me to run that building?
Jesus.
So cost of acquisition, right? If it costs me a little bit more to be more efficient, how much does it save me over 20, 30, 40 years? And it always does. How many times do we do projections for homeowners that show what they're going to save in solar over the next 20 years? And it always blows them away.
My house alone,
Oh,
it takes about $500 a month for the utilities. This is no lie.
no, I'm sure.
Water, trash, sewage,
Yeah.
electricity.
It's
and
$6,000 a year.
So you times up by 12, and I've been there, unfortunately, for 34 years.
Okay.
I've already spent $204,000
Yeah.
just on flipping utilities. Are you kidding me?
Right.
How many times did I buy my solar system, Rob?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What, 5?
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely.
Disgusting.
And especially today, because you have to look at whatever your solar systems cost. If you've got the ability to take the advantage of the ITC at 30%, or if you're a business and you can add the 34% MACRS depreciation, you're getting such a value on your money. So I mean, you're spending 70% instead of 100, or
Yeah.
in business you're spending 36% instead of
Hey,
100%.
listen, we talk to this until we're blue in the face, right?
Yeah.
Here's what I tell homeowners and business people now that are actually kind of looking at it. Not only is it the right thing to do, you should have been thinking about this 10 years ago.
Yeah, no, I mean, but there's this whole bell curve, that on the one side, the people that are going to stand out for 24 hours in front of an Apple store waiting for the next phone, those are called the early adapters.
Right.
These are the people, though, that these are the must-have-its. I got to have it before everyone else has it. And then there's another phase after that, right? And they need it, but they can wait a week or two, And then you got another phase on the bell curve. It starts to go down, and they're just like, I can live with it or not. And then at the end of the other side of the bell curve is someone that would have a rotary dial phone if it still existed.
Right.
Okay? That's how that
Yeah.
works, right?
And the sad part is that the cost of renewable energy, specifically solar, is not going to get any cheaper.
It's not.
It's about to go up a lot.
It's not really going to get cheaper. And the problem is for most companies, if they get a better margin, they're going to get a better margin. But the problem is as we know, even some of our technology, because it's increasing, some of our prices are increasing because it's costing a bit
Automatically.
more. And then we just talked about, I think on our last show, we talked about developers buying out massive amounts of panels to get the 30% ITC this year.
They're gobbling them up
So they expect a 10% increase.
as they're coming off the road.
So by the time you get to the end of the year
Yeah.
or sooner, you might see a 10% increase just in panel cost.
You got guys sitting out there with these containers right
Yeah.
off the production line,
Yeah.
stacking these up on pallets, shipping them to other countries,
So basically,
avoiding. It's great. I love it. But what the hell are we doing in the USA, man?
well, what's kind of a bit of ingenuity
sick.
on
It's
these
sad.
developers is they could stack these things, right? and basically start day trading panels.
Oh my God, it'd be better in gold, I guess. Right?
And there's
It's the only thing that makes money.
There's only so many panel companies out there that build in bulk. A lot
Yep.
of them are more the Asian panels and things like that. I mean,
Yep.
we try to really be careful on what we provide, but I mean, you got to consider that it's not going to get cheaper than that 30% incentive right now. And every year that you wait, you just paid 7% more on your bill.
Plus another 4% that they're losing at the end of this year.
Yeah, so we did the whole
So this year they get an 11% bump.
right. So the whole idea is if you wait to go solar in 4 years, you went up 7% a year in your bill. So your price went up 28%. You lost the 30%. So now you're 58% in the hole. Even if your product did get cheaper by 10 or 20%, which don't hold your breath, it's not going to happen. You're still 38 to 48% negative. You lost.
Yeah,
You didn't gain.
Yeah.
So, and, and that's just, it just doesn't make sense. It's the sweet spot we've ever seen
Oh, man,
in a long time right now.
Man, you just can't get enough right now.
No, this is definitely a time to be switching.
And surprisingly so, we're getting a lot of these commercial opportunities.
a lot now.
They're starting to realize that it's real and they need to pay attention.
Well, let me give you a quick example, not mentioning anybody's names, but we went ahead and we're doing a proposal right now that their bill is about $14,500 a month for a commercial property.
That's a lot of energy, man.
About $3,500 of it is demand.
What kind of business is it?
It's actually a large church complex.
A church complex.
Yeah, but it's quite a large facility. So I mean, we're talking 1,000 to 1,100 panels. It's a big system. But here's the thing: $3,500 a month approximately is demand charge. So we're not going to deal
That's
with
a
that.
small demand in comparison to GS2.
Correct. So
Yeah.
this is GS3, right? So
Right.
but if I can wipe out 11,000 or more of that 14,000, and I can do it for a obviously much smaller payment of a loan, and they're going to get to own that energy. Just from a business standpoint, how does that not make sense?
Just that reduction alone, they're not going to care about demand at
What
that
if
point.
my loan cost me $3,000-4,000 a month? I'm saving $7,000 a month, $8,000
I know.
a month. Why wouldn't I save $100,000 a year?
congratulations, Rob. You just helped them save $84,000 a year.
Easily, and I think it's probably going to be more. But just look at that, right? That's the power of it. But it does come down to something really important. You got to have, and we were kind of talking about this the other day. You really got to find the right contractor and the right specialist.
Oh,
in
yeah.
this. And what we really want to try to help people. We always say this: if it's us or someone else, that's fine. We'd love your business, obviously, but we want to make sure you know how to vet that group.
Especially from a commercial standpoint.
Yeah.
You don't want to hire Pete in the pickup or
No.
Chuck in the truck.
No.
To say, hey, come over here. And, I've used this program XYZ on Google
Yeah.
that, says everything's going to be perfect once we're done.
Yeah, I'm going to do this in SketchUp. I got a free thing off Google. No, I mean you need experts, right?
Oh, man. Let me get out my crayons.
But
I've seen too much of that.
yeah, we see. Well, we fixed problems for people that have gone with the wrong people before.
They need to go down to the inverter manufacturer level
Yeah.
because remember, the inverter interprets
Yeah.
what's going to be produced on the AC portion, which is fed back to the grid.
Right. Exactly.
The translation from DC to AC needs to be so quick and minuscule that the inversion process, and there's no longer transformers.
Right.
That's why inverters used to weigh 200 pounds.
But there's that efficiency on the inverter side, not just the panel side.
That's right.
No one talks about that.
And
do
you know
they?
what? Inverters nowadays, if you use the right one, you can be at 98% efficient.
Oh yeah.
I mean, forget having this company that's continually buying it from slup and slup.
No,
And
exactly.
he's putting these inverters in this warehouse, and because he needs to make it cheaper. You know why he needs to make it cheaper? Because the industry has drove down the price per watt so greatly.
Yeah.
And then now we're letting this inferior product saturate the industry, and then we're going to have a huge maintenance issue.
That's a big point, because as that's happened, it's made a lot of people out there use product that is not going to have the efficiency or the power production or the reliability over the long term. And they've had to go to those inferior products to maintain their profit margins. We don't buy or stock anything. We do it for your project. It's the right product for your project. And that's really important. And that's what we try to educate people. And just like something we just are doing right now with our proposals, for instance. Our proposals are going to detail out how we came to determine your bill, your structure, your finances, and what is the right system for you. And have you seen the one we're doing right now?
Yeah, I love it.
There's a ton of stuff in there educating you to know these are the terminology we use in the field. This is what this means. Our whole point is to really educate the customer, because we feel you need to make an informed decision, right? And a lot of people aren't doing that out in the industry. They don't want you to know it all.
No,
because then you could question them.
Yeah, right. and then wait for that answer.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be like deer in headlights. Which way did he go?
And how far have you ever been in the stores that are like trying to get leads in for some of these major brands, and you go up to them because of what we know, and we ask them a couple questions, and they look like, okay.
Let me go back to my texting.
I'm going to set up an appointment for you.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have someone out there that can answer those questions.
That's twice as dumb as I am.
And they can't barely do it when they're out at your house. So.
It's sad. So my point is, I mean, think about super energy efficiency, and I wish Title 24 would go back and redesign how we think efficiency.
Yeah.
They should go to our friends at Berkeley and look at daylight harvesting. They should look at, cement houses.
Look at what the world's doing. Right?
I mean, everybody else on the planet, the United States of America, I love this country that I'm in. Trust me. I'm a patriot.
Yeah.
When you cut my veins, it bleeds red, white, and blue, and a little bit of celeriac right there.
There you go, a little celeriac green.
Celeriac is just hanging out there,
right?
I love this country, but I do not like its ideology right now.
Well,
I don't like how it's thinking. They don't want to put this renewable thing in front, especially when this global warming stuff is nothing to play with.
No, it's not. I mean, I'm encouraged when I see some small stories, like I'm got in front of me right now that 90
Tunisia.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we got 90 cities across the United States
Jesus.
that have now committed to run on 100% renewable energy. They don't exactly know how to do it yet. It's not really rocket science. It can be done.
Here's the problem. Let's just say 100% of the United States would jumped on board.
Yeah.
Our federal government will sit there and just figure out a way to to capitalize on this rather than solve the problem. They're so worried about this dollar sign, how are they going to benefit? And you get some of these governors, and thank God now in California, you have to give them your 1040 prior to becoming anything political. Because they want to check into your background, man.
Yeah, and I think, I just think that we need to be leading by some example sitting here on this stuff, and we're really not. We have great ideas. We have some of the most talented people in the whole world.
We're not doing anything about it, though.
But you're right, because if they start to because what'll happen is green energy will become the number one thing in this country as soon as the politicians figure out what you just said. How do I make a buck on it?
Politicians need to work. Here's what I think. I think all politicians, when they're in office, should make $100,000 at a cap. You want to serve this country? Yeah. You got to make just like the normal blue collar / educated. You're a public servant. You're a public servant, and public service means to serve the public. Am I right? You got to serve them in many ways, not serve them in, thinking behind the scenes how much money you're going to stuff into your pocket. No, because contractor X, who's known for fraud and all this other junk, is going to grease your pockets to keep you going.
And that gets to be kind of the scary thing as well. Right now, they haven't jumped on, which means they haven't found a way to bastardize it all. So again, it's another reason though why solar is at a good rate. You have the ITC, you got the MACRS, you've got
64%. Come on, guys, wake up!
But you don't have a government sitting in there going, "How could we tax this in another way?"
They try to figure out how to take it away.
Yeah, and the thing is, right now,
the federal tax credit thing. Bud, with all these things going away at this specific amount of time, I kind of think it's necessary to maybe motivate people to go green.
Right.
But at the same time, that's not an incentive.
No, it's kind of they're taking the incentive.
It's an oxymoron. It's what it is.
I think it's really important that people recognize.
And the utility company knows it, and they can't wait to raise your rates on something else that's stupid on this. Next to the public purchase program or the what do they call that? Delivery and transmission, meaning the same thing. And next they're going to see their kids' college fund next to that.
What I think is hilarious, though, and sad, is to watch utilities now say that they will sell you green energy.
That
at an increased price.
That right there is a slug in everybody's eye. Yeah. I knew this 10 years ago. I said to a couple of my colleagues, I said, watch. All of a sudden, the rebates are going to be gone, and there's no more federal tax credits because these lobbyists have went out there and slugged us in our eyes. They're going to go ahead and put the infrastructure in place. These are the same guys that are burning down your cities, that are causing havoc, that don't have any financial ramifications put into play.
The problem is they're considered the too big to fail.
They're wagging the tail.
They're always able to get out.
They're wagging the tail.
But if the utility is,
and then they're going to start selling you renewable energy at a higher cost.
But when you think about that,
what's wrong with that?
What you need to be clear on is the homeowner and business owner needs to be clear on is this: you should never be buying clean energy at an increased price from anyone.
It's ridiculous.
You yourself can produce clean energy for less than you're paying right now for dirty energy. This is kind of like when McDonald's all of a sudden came out and said, "We're using real beef now."
Yeah, no more kangaroos.
So it's just so it's like, what the hell have I been eating for 20 years? And then you take a look at like Edison, you're like,
you should look at the chicken nugget, pal.
Yeah, chickens don't have nuggets, by the way. So I don't even want to know where that came from.
Oh Lord!
But the thing is, when you take a look at, so they're basically saying, "I've been giving you dirty energy all this time."
That's right.
Or bad mix, but I'm going to give it to you clean. It's going to cost you more money, but it does validate something, because how they're giving you a consumer that clean energy is they're buying their own PPAs from developers that are building these solar farms. But so you're paying for them to go buy their solar farm.
Wouldn't that suck?
Why would you do that when you could just put it on your roof?
Wouldn't that suck in the future if we are held hostage by the utility companies?
Well, there's one way to make sure that doesn't happen.
Put it on your roof. Get it done.
Self-consumption, like Portugal is doing. Start producing your own. Like you say, reduce before you produce.
Absolutely.
Let's take a look at how we make you as efficient as possible, and then consume what you produce.
Absolutely.
And
the best way to go.
You just took a great deal of control and some of your money back, right?
And you don't have to worry about all these other vampires
No.
sticking their fangs in you wherever you go.
No, it's best to be proactive in this case. And again, this is we're now. God, it seemed like 2 days ago we were talking about being at the beginning of July. This year's fleeting. We now have August and the rest of the year on January 1st we go down to 26%.
I mean, have you noticed that it's getting, and it's been record, hotter?
Did you see Europe?
Oh my goodness!
Do you realize that about 3 weeks ago it was hotter in Anchorage, Alaska than it was here in Upland, California?
Anchorage, Alaska.
Was hit 90.
That's crazy.
We were like 80 something on that day.
Yeah, that's crazy.
If you think it's not happening, stop listening to whoever is telling you it's not happening.
Right.
Because they're full of you know exactly what.
Yeah.
So you got to be smarter than it. It's happening. If you don't listen to one politician, look at NASA. NASA will show you what the heat index is for the last how many decades. And if they're telling you it's hotter, guess what? It's hotter.
Just go to Google Index and type NASA heat index.
Yeah, absolutely.
Watch what you see.
And there's another one. I forget the name. It always evades me. It starts with
NOAA.
Yeah, but there's also one that starts with an S in Europe.
And
they're the one that shows all the heat indexes going on. It's crazy what's happening.
They're out there.
They had people in Paris, out in the water near the Eiffel Tower just to try to cool off. It's so what? Take advantage of what you have in front of you. Start becoming the solution. Stop looking outside for other people to do what's right. If all of you start doing what's right, you're going to save money anyway.
We're going to get to the front of the line quick.
What percentage of our customers save money?
All of them.
Because we have a very simple rule. Number one,
Jonathan still loves you.
Yeah. Well, we have a very simple rule. If it's not going to save you money, we're probably not selling anything to you unless we've made that clear and you say, you know what, I want to go green anyway. But we don't sell to people that aren't going to have a benefit and a cost savings.
Right.
So that's why, Chris, you so easily could say all of them.
All of them.
So if you come to us and we tell you you're going to save, you're going to save. If we tell you you're not, you're not.
Trust me, you're not going to save.
Yeah. But but we're good at what we do. We really know what we're doing. And that's why all our customers do save. So why wouldn't you put more money in your pocket? Even?
That's a good slogan, Rob. Reduce before you produce.
Yeah. And then consume what you produce. And if you could just do that, you've been the change that we need in the planet, because we need millions of homes to do that.
And you know what? It's simpler than you think.
It's really simple.
And there's this new finance program that we have online.
Yeah.
You can go to QHIinc.com/financing now.
Yeah.
It's called Point. Mm-hmm. You really, really need to take advantage of that, because how would you like to take all those energy efficiencies, put it on your property taxes, no payments, no interest for the next 10 years?
Yeah. Well, that one's not even. Is that one on the property tax, or that's the?
Has nothing to do with property tax.
So basically,
it's based on equity in your home.
So basically, I can get everything I need to do, not have a payment for 10 years. If we put a big enough system on my roof, I got rid of my utility, except that $10 a month connection.
The savings that you save alone with the utility company is going to put back 50 to 60% of what you have to pay back to them in the next 10 years.
Yeah, so we did a sample of that where we said, let's take a look at someone that might have a $200 a month bill. And you could say that would be $2,400 a year, and times 10 years, that's $24,000. No, it's not. Because if you put in the 7% escalator that your utility has, it's about $31,200.
That's right. And we're not talking about the federal tax credit.
No, we didn't even take that off yet.
I mean, take that into consideration.
So you take the fact that you might have just saved 30 some odd thousand, then you're going to take 30% off the cost of your system. It just
get back another $2,000-3,000 a year for the next 5 years.
We worked out this one scenario doing exactly that. I forgot the cost of the system, and it turned out that at the end they owed something like $6,000.
Yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
The best thing that I like about this whole thing: implement what we just talked about, and then how about take another $25,000, stick that into an annuity.
Sure.
In 6 years, it doubles.
Right.
So the savings from the electricity, the annuity increasing in 6 years, take that out, take what you just saved, there's your payback.
So between doing something like that and having that money...
Refinance what?
Yeah. So what if you take that money you're saving and you put it in annuity so that it's doubling, and then
you got your money to pay it back.
You just paid your system back. So essentially, if you're just smart with it, you got it for nothing.
And the greatest thing is that the rest of that money can stay into that hopper, and in every 6 years it doubles.
Right.
So
Well, remember
did it cost you anything?
Not really. That's the thing. Effectively, no. We've been
Hell, you can finance an annuity with these guys. They wouldn't care.
No, we've been joking. We've been joking about it, and I think we'll probably start doing it where we were talking about. You always mention take that money that you're saving and put it in a
cookie jar, baby.
So we started talking about when you get installed, we'll give you a cookie jar with some
we're
cookies
give
in
cookie
it,
jars away
and
from
then
now
put
on.
the money in there because the thing too is if you don't do an annuity even. If you take that money you saved and made that one extra house payment we talked about, you can take your 30-year mortgage and drop it down to 20 or below or 15. So, I mean, that's also, so let me get this straight. I can save money on my energy bill and cut my mortgage in half.
Home improvements.
There's a lot more to this.
Really don't cost you anything if you think about the logistics.
Right, because they're also increasing. We didn't even talk about increasing the value of the house yet.
I mean, how far do we need to keep screaming this?
No, but the cool thing is, and it's something that I really enjoy about working, on this team is we're not schlepping panels.
No, right.
We're talking about a real holistic view.
Hey,
of
Rob,
how
would
to
you
save
like
money.
would you like to do 105?
Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're looking at a whole approach. It's just like when we talk to business owners. I'm not going in there to sell you solar. I'm a business consultant. I'm looking to save you money. Lower your cost of operations, which allows you to profit more. We approach things in a much bigger way.
You know why? Because we actually care about people on this planet.
Yes, we care about people.
That has a lot to do with it.
We've run businesses, and guess what's a business? Your house. Your house holds a business. This has a cost to it.
Right.
It takes so much to run every month, right?
It is what it is.
You might not have employees, but you have loved family ones in the house that you also have to support, just like a staff. Right? You've got a house payment, you got utilities, you've got all these different things, you got internet bills. If we look at the thing as a whole and we can try to save you, that's what we're trying to do.
Yep. It's a good thing, man.
Yeah, no, we got some good news sitting out there right now.
Right? So I want to say thanks a lot for hanging out.
Yeah, Chris.
Always fun to talk. Right? And I mean, look at these little countries. I mean,
it's hard to get us to shut up, isn't it?
We should put like one of those turkey timers on this thing. It goes boing.
Well, I think you said you were going to put a clock on the wall so you can watch
right?
and go, oh
my God, we get so carried away, man. But, it's a good thing because we're passionate about what we do.
We love what we do.
We're very passionate about the environment, very passionate about people. And, as always, we want to do the best we can.
Absolutely.
Okay, man. Until next time, I'll see you in August, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And have a great weekend and a great week, and let's go green.
Absolutely.
Thanks again, Rob. Appreciate you, buddy.
Take care, everyone.
The Energy Hour was brought to you by
For beauty, efficiency, and power, the only product we know in the solar industry is Solaria. Maximum power. For nearly 25 years, Solaria has set the pace for solar panel performance, efficiency, reliability, quality, and design. Maximum power. Solaria continues to leverage its patented technology, engineering expertise, and sophisticated automation into creating one of the most attractive, energy-efficient solar panels available on the market today. Maximum power. What really defines home solar? How about Solaria? Quality you can trust for your home or business. Solaria is the new benchmark for solar energy. Where do you get this panel for your home or business? Go to QHIinc.com. That's QHIINC.com/Solaria. SOLARIA.
Got your latest electric bill? Is it less than last month or last year? Probably not. But if you had a solar system from QHI, it would be. Your electric meter could be running backwards. Right now, get a QHI system installed for no money down, no out-of-pocket expenses. Get an immediate savings on your electric bill. Call 909-609-5437. Solar is all they do. Call QHI 909-609-5437.
Thank you for listening to The Energy Hour. Visit them on the internet by going to QHIinc.com/TEO. That's QHIINC.com/TEO.